Okay. Wow, wow. So
Yeah.
there's a lot to be done in this area then. So the average woman who's watching this show then, she's saying, okay, I know I got to get my exams, you
Right.
know. Okay. And it really boils down to just that, right?
Right.
I mean, it really, it's like, there's no magic wand, folks. I mean,
There really
prevention.
isn't, because
Right.
patients always ask, what can I do? What can I do? I think it's simple things that can be done that can really have a dramatic effect. And like you just talked about, getting your yearly breast exam, yearly mammogram, and just keeping up on your health. And I think if you can do that, then I think that's the best you can do.
Absolutely. Now, the elderly, you know, our population is getting much older. And they're talking about the baby boomers. We're all coming of, we're coming due now.
Yes, we are.
It's amazing.
Yes, we are. We would know them.
But you know, we're here now. So you see a lot more people going into, well, a lot more people in assisted living too. They're not into full-blown, what do they call them, nursing homes and stuff like that. A lot more people are trying to, they're living longer and this and that. Elderly people, do they do a better job than young people in terms of health issue, or do they begin to slack off too? What is your notion?
I think it depends on what the person's been doing most of their lives. I think people tend to keep up what they've been doing. They tend to be pretty vigilant about their health care. You know, we have patients that are very elderly. They keep up with their exams, keep up with their mammograms. And I think also it's a job of whoever their healthcare provider is to stress the importance that as you get older, you still need to keep up on some of these health maintenance issues. And I think that's important also.
Because, you know, after a while, people just start popping those pills.
Right.
Everything's a pill, you know. And I heard a little joke just recently talking about the guy, he had a pill to remind him to take pills.
Right.
I'm like, wow. But you
That is much.
So it really is, it is the exercise, it's the involvement, it's staying up on top of yourself, and you can't just rely on the pills. Because ultimately that's going to tear up your kidney anyhow, right? Or damage your inside.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just simple things that, you know, your mom told you, and you know, eat a healthy diet, go out and exercise, and just take care of yourself. Because unfortunately, like we said, we don't have a cure for breast cancer. We don't have a cure for most cancers and most diseases, but we know things that we can do to help ourselves, and I think that's really important.
I've heard it said also, someone said that basically all of us have a cancer cell in us, and that sooner, the question is whether or not it just, you know, gets out of control or something like that. I mean, is that true, or is that just something that someone says, you know?
I think some of the thought is that you do have cancer cells that can be in the body, but your body has its own sort of intrinsic ability to fight those cancer cells.
Okay.
So I think that goes along with lifestyle and health and sort of overall. But again, there's a lot more research we need to do to figure out kind of what those triggers are that trigger someone to develop cancer. Yeah,
that's the triggers. That's a good way of putting that. Yeah, interesting.
Now, one of the things you shared with us before we came on air is that you're originally from Maryland, okay?
Yes.
And came here as a result of, I guess, medical school at Penn State?
Yes.
Okay. And what made you go to Penn State? I'm just curious.
I was just very impressed by Hershey when I went there. And once I went there from my initial visit, I was pretty much sold, and I enjoyed my 4 years there. It was excellent training.
Well, when did you know you were cut out to be a doctor?
Yeah, at what point did that relation?
It was sort of a process. When I was in college, I thought I might want to go into some type of sciences. I wasn't quite sure. Then I think by my second year, I really liked medicine. I liked the sciences. I liked the human body. I think I was just very fascinated by it. So then I sort of started digging a little bit deeper, and I just said, well, I'm going to try medical school. It seems like something that was very fascinating, interesting, and so that kind of set me on my journey from there.
You know,
no doctors, anyone in your
No.
family? No. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
You know, one of the things that is constantly being talked about now is the need for the higher technologies and for young people to begin to consider, you know, the sciences and this and that there's a tremendous, we're going to call it void, if you will, of African American students who are considering, you know, these fields. Here in Harrisburg, we have what's called Sci-Tech, Harrisburg University of Science and Technology, and then also the high school is called Sci-Tech. And so they're encouraging kids to consider the sciences, and it seems to be working quite well. It seems to be a wonderful program. What is your sense around the country when you start looking at people entering into the field? Are enough people of color, African Americans in particular, considering the field of medicine?
No, I think the numbers are quite low. And actually some recent numbers looking at sort of African Americans and med school graduates are still quite flat. So I think you don't have a lot of African Americans going into the sciences, going into medicine in particular. But I think there's a lot of opportunity out there, and I think a lot of people could go into these things, but we just need to sort of encourage people to continue down that track through things like you talked about, this program, and they need mentors, they need people who've been through these situations, been through medical school, to sort of walk them through that process. But unfortunately, I wish those numbers were a lot higher, because I know there's a lot of bright young students out there that could contribute to society and contribute to our learning of all these different things. But I think we just need to encourage them.
And I tell young people all the time, just look around and you'll see that a lot of students coming from, let's just say the foreign countries, for lack of a better word, they come in ready and prepared and focused, because they know just how critical it is. And some of our students, not all, but some of our students just seem to not really get the value of education. Does that bother you? Do you see that?
I think it bothers me a lot. I think it bothers because I know with my own parents, they really stressed the value of education, that was number one. And I think that sort of permeated kind of how I was raised. So I knew that was an important thing, and that was, no matter what I went into, that was going to be something that was part of my life. That's just something you did. And I always think of education as, people say, well, I don't want to go to college, I don't know what I want to do. Well, education is education.
That's right.
And anyone who's been working knows that you have to educate yourself throughout your life, and you don't go to school and stop becoming educated. So whether you go into carpentry, whether you are a doctor, lawyer, business, that all requires education, all requires training.
That's right.
And so I think we have to stress to our young people, education means becoming prepared to be an adult. So I think that's key.
No question about it. You know, I know that with the great universities like Howard University's medical school, and then I believe that was it Morehouse opened up a medical school probably about 20 years ago or something like that. And you always have Meharry, you know. There's always been this need to get us to get it, you know, to say we do need to, because if we don't study our own, you know, medical history and our own, you know, peculiar cultures and stuff, then woe be unto us.
That's right.
You know, and so I just hope more people will do what you've done, Doctor, and that is, you know, pick up the mantle and walk with it, because we need more practitioners that kind of get it, that understand community, and will service everybody, of course, but have that particular interest, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
What about women? What are you saying in regard to entering, okay, the sciences and medical field? Are they numbers increasing? Or?
I think in the medical field, actually women have picked up some steam. They're probably about half of the medical school graduates, so it's actually about 50-50. In the sciences, I think the numbers are a little bit lower in terms of women in the sciences. And so, you know, hopefully those numbers will also pick up too, because we need people of all backgrounds, of all genders, to participate in these fields.
Well, you know, we've run out of time, but this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, indeed. We've been talking to Dr. Todd Campbell, and he's over at the Oakwood Breast Center, and he's doing a tremendous job. We want to thank you for your work that you're doing. But folks, it's about us doing what we have to do in order to prevent and to gain knowledge, and then to grow in that knowledge and do something about it, you know, because it can happen to any of us. And it doesn't have to be a death sentence, but it has to be something we take care of. Thank you so much. See you next time on Life Esteem. Goodbye.